Hi everyone, welcome back to Adobe Live, Adobe Symposium 2019. We have the lovely Will Allen with us.
Hi there.
How are you feeling now? You've done your talk.
I'm feeling great. I'm a little jet lagged. I'm still in California time, so
Right.
this is where I'm starting to get pretty sleepy. So if I start to nod off, just shakes
we'll get
me.
a nice pillow.
Yeah, exactly. I'll wake up then.
Yeah.
No, feeling really good. It's been a great experience. Actually, my first time in Sydney, so it's been.
Wow, have you
it's been
managed
great.
to actually see anything?
You know, just the downtown.
Right.
But so far, it's been beautiful.
Meeting rooms.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah, a lot of conference rooms and inside of here. No, I got to make it back for longer. Unfortunately, I had to make it a short trip this time, but so far it's been fantastic.
Do you still get nervous speaking to a crowd that size?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Even to small crowds.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I enjoy it too, so it's fun. I enjoy that. But yeah, I think you always get nervous, and you sort of learn to channel it and use it in the right direction. It's fun though.
Yes.
Well, you look like a natural.
Oh, I
did.
appreciate it. Exactly.
So, Will is the Senior Director at Adobe and mainly focused around community.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little about what that means?
So I oversee a couple different products. There's Behance itself, which is the community for people to showcase and discover creative work. There's Adobe Portfolio, which is a website builder for your personal website. So williamallen.com, or if you're a photographer, interior decorator, a designer, you can build your website that way. 99U, which is our conference, which is held in New York, and a little think tank we run through there. And then our live streaming efforts on Behance, as well as some of the stuff with Adobe Live.
So 99U,
Yeah.
I just want to dig into that really quickly,
Yeah.
because that is always pulled out as being like a very different conference.
It is.
How, why? Like what have you done to make that feel so different?
Yeah, first of all, you should come and attend. So if you're out there watching, we'd love to see you there. It's 1,000 people. It's in New York City. It's in Alice Tully Hall at Lincoln Center, which is just a gorgeous theater, and it's made for music. You know, the theater is actually built for music, and so it has this great feel to it. And I sort of think of it as like a hipster version of Max, or a symphonic version of Max. It's more of a behind-the-scenes view to really understand what creative teams are doing to make them successful. So less about sort of the what of their creating, and much more about the how. How do you lead a creative team? How do you work with a creative team and take them through a big, complicated process? How do you take a creative team from 2 people to 10 to 100 from there? And so that's the cues we give to our speakers. They tend to be longer talks, about 18, 20-minute talks, per main speaker, all on this big main stage. And it's just this special event. We just had our 11th year this past year, and I don't know what it is, but it's got this great vibe to it.
What's the future for that, though? Are you thinking of expanding that out to...
We have always sort of struggled with that and sort of wonder, should we expand it? Because there's enough demand there for sure to expand it. Some people would love for us to expand it, but I actually love the size that it is. It feels really intimate. With 1,000 people, it's still big, so it's got a certain scale to it, but it's not overwhelming. And you can, over the course of a couple days, you can meet and bump into a lot of the same people. So you really feel like you get this great sort of vibe and connection over those couple of days. So as of right now, I think we're going to stick with that size. I want to do a lot with live streaming that we broadcast for the entirety of that conference there, and that's where I think we can really begin to scale and take it to the next level.
Yeah, I think with Adobe Live, for example, it's so amazing how that kind of, well, you mentioned it on stage, like the apprenticeship kind of idea, which I really liked, because I feel that's been missing, and we talk about this.
Yeah, we do.
That it feels like it's been missing from the industry for a while.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I liken it to, I don't know if you watch cooking shows, or if you're into cooking, so if you watch
Very much so.
I certainly am, and it's like when I travel on a plane, it's my guilty pleasure is to watch the Food Network and all those shows. But
The one place where you can't actually cook.
you can actually exactly. It's a little bit of torture that I give to
But
myself.
also there's no judgment on planes.
Yeah, true.
But what I love about what's happened in the world of cooking is that you can watch these amazing celebrity chefs and not so celebrity chefs, and you learn. And the process of learning is much more informal. It's much more accessible and attainable. And there's this sort of infotainment, learning, entertainment sort of combination that happens there. And that's my vision for the live stream efforts on creativity. It's to build that sort of food network for creativity, where anyone can watch anyone else stream. And maybe you're not an illustrator yet, you just have this aspiration to do it one day. You can still watch, you can learn, and see the behind the scenes view of how somebody actually creates. The final finished polish is amazing. That is the art. but the process of the art is this mystery.
Yeah.
And live streaming can sort of pull back that curtain and allow people to sort of get into it and connect with creators they would have never been able to connect to. I mean, the chat here on Adobe Live and other areas, for me, that's the magic, right? That's the fun part about it, where people are in there engaging and learning and asking questions in real time.
I've actually, maybe just to share a story, I've been doing the Creative Challenge as part of
Oh,
Adobe
that's
Live.
amazing. Yeah, good.
It was really cool, and I got a message second week in from a guy on Instagram. He said, this is great, love it. I'm 70 and I'm teaching myself XD.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that happens
good.
all
So
the
good.
time,
Yeah.
and people are there changing careers. It's, you know, they're doing it, so it's just their passion, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about it, sort of it captures that, and people can find the right way to learn. You know, I think it's the great thing. You know, I go back to that cooking analogy. Some people, they want a recipe book, and they want to follow a very specific recipe, like do A, B, and C in this order. And if you learn that way, great. We've got lots of ways to help you learn how, you know, our creative tools doing that. That's one way. But some people want to connect with certain instructors, certain teachers, certain creatives. And so I think this live streaming efforts allows us to allow anyone to stream and then to find your tribe, the person who connects with you and resonates with you. And then
I
really
love that.
Sort of dig in and find that instructor. They speak my language. I get them. This one over here doesn't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I love about it is like, often it's not polished. It's not like
it's very
a
raw.
crafty thing.
Yeah.
And even you have
Which is a
one
good thing.
Yeah, it's great. You have one expert in Adobe come on and you have another in Photoshop. Next week's another Photoshop. And they're completely different workflows.
Yes.
And someone's self-taught, someone learned from this thing, and you just like it's about finding what works for you.
Yes.
And it just means that there's so much breadth to be able to learn.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think it's
And that's, I mean, there's no prescribed path, almost by definition, to be creative, right?
Exactly.
And that's what I love. And you know, our tools and all of this stuff in this industry, you can go so many different ways. And everybody has their quirks and the ways they think about stuff. And just seeing how people think about that and their process behind it and how they work, you get these little tips and tricks. You know, and so much of our workflow in our life is made of tips and tricks. These little things that people do. You're like, aha, that's what they do. And then you incorporate that into your own workflow, and it becomes part of your process and your career.
amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
So cool.
It's I tell the team that I feel very fortunate to work on these products, but I just couldn't be more excited about all of them. You know, I think we've got such great promise and potential to take these and keep reaching more people and helping more people learn and engage.
Yeah.
So Behance,
Yeah.
like that to me is like, it's a very polished machine now.
Yeah.
Where could you take that in the future?
You know, I think live streaming is a huge part of it.
Sure.
You know, I think that's been, probably about 2 years ago now, I was talking to Zach, who's our head of product for Behance, and has been, you know, the key driving force behind Behance for years and years. And we were saying, what are the big things we want to change? And one was live streaming. We sort of felt like this was an area we wanted to push into pretty aggressively because of all the reasons we just mentioned. The other one was encouraging more people to post their work and to give really good constructive feedback. So we developed the work in progress module, which sort of disappears after 24 hours. And the reason that's so effective on Behance is that you've got your portfolio that's pretty polished, right? The stuff you're going to put in your portfolio is going to be really solid, and you want it to be your best possible representation out to the world. But both a work in progress, that feature, and live streaming is more raw. It's more real. It's more behind the scenes. And that, and I think sort of the ephemeral notion of the work in progress has been a big part of that. You really get to see the process behind stuff. So those are two big initiatives that we've been driving for the past couple of years.
I really like that because creative directors, when I speak to creative directors about what they want from students, they're like, I don't want to just see the polished stuff anymore. I want to see what they like to work with. I want to see their process.
How are they actually going through that? And so that's a big effort. I mean, at the end of the day, I mentioned this in sort of a dinner last night, but there's a simple equation that I think about for sort of drives the true north of Behance, and that is exposure for your work, and more people see it, plus attribution for your work, and people know that you actually did that work, and that equals opportunity. Opportunity for collaboration, to be hired, to connect with somebody else, to learn new things, and so that's it, right? That's the secret sauce of Behance, is sort of, you know, A plus B equals C. And so how that manifests goes in a lot of different directions, but I always go back to how can we give more exposure for creatives' work? So a lot of the efforts we've been focused on over the past couple of months recently have been about getting more views to your work, right? If you're an up-and-coming designer and you post your first project on Behance, how do we make sure enough people see it? And it sort of has the maximum chance to bubble up and explode and to be discovered. That's really where our focus is, helping people get more exposure for their work.
Maybe something that's tied to that is Adobe Portfolio as well, which I'd love to hear you talk a little more about, because I think you touched on it briefly.
Because it looks incredibly easy. Like, is it as easy as it looks?
I mean, I am not a designer, and I am not an engineer, and I built my website in a couple of seconds. So it is very easy. I mean, it's really designed to be easy. Because the notion is you should focus on your work, right? And look, if you are an interaction designer, you should probably code your own website, right? That's what you do. If you're a photographer, do you want to code your own website? No, you don't, right? You want to take great photography. And so we built a system that allows you to build, it's very narrow in terms of the focus. It's called Adobe Portfolio. It's an Adobe website builder. It's geared towards making the best portfolio website possible. And what I love about it is we built these great connections. So if you are a Power Lightroom user, you have all of your albums in Lightroom, you can log into Portfolio, and with one click, all of your albums are automatically imported, and you can publish your website. So it's really 2 clicks. 1 click, import your albums. Click number 2 is hit publish. You've got a website that's up there, and it looks pretty good. So I think that's our goal, is to allow you to create a website in seconds. Then if you want to customize it and go crazy, you can spend days, hours, weeks making it just perfect for you. So that's sort of been this interesting mix that we have. How can we make you really successful right off the bat, but then also give you that depth of customization to really make that your own brand and your own representation out to the world. And what people create is amazing. We have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of websites that are hosted on Portfolio, and they are stunning. And it's just super fun to see what people create and how they represent themselves. It just shows you that breadth of creativity, even in that sort of narrow focus of showing off your creativity. It's very cool to see.
It changes for me. I work a lot in education. And the portfolio, like, the kind of keystone subject you have at the end of their 3 years or whatever. It kind of changes everything now. So it's kind of like, well, the portfolio is actually not the important thing, because that's actually quite easy now. It's now about how you tinker and kind of make it your own. So.
Well, and it's a process, right? These aren't the destination. It's about the journey. And so your portfolio needs to evolve and needs to live with you, right? Same with, your work on Behance, your work on your portfolio website. It's got to be about where you are today and where you're going. So you can see that trajectory of your career. And so we've written a lot of tips and sort of ideas on how to build a great portfolio. But really, it's about showing that journey. So people can sort of see, they were here, now they're here, and they're going there. And that's the person that I want on my team.
And making that easy as well, because I know, you leave it I must update my portfolio, and you leave it for a little while, and then you're like, I'll just leave it for a little while longer.
I don't know if it's the universal phrase, but there's one in every language about the cobbler's children sort of don't have, good shoes. And it's true about the website, right? If you're an illustrator, you're illustrating. That's your passion, that's your creativity, and you're out there doing that every single day. You think, I got to go make my website. And so our goal is to make that dead simple. So it sort of takes that off your plate, and it's out there in the world. And you can focus on just being creative.
Yeah, so good. I'm just finished doing a bit of teaching at UTS for their visual communications course, and I was marking their portfolios and talking about that. And it's so encouraging to see them starting to use tools like Behance and what I think will end up being sort of Adobe Portfolio as well. Because, they're young, they're getting out there, but they need something quick and easy. And I think, when I did uni, it was like you had to print off your folio. And I'm
Many
just so,
times.
I know, it's so expensive, but I think it's so nice to see people adopting these tools and actually using them for what they need to be used for. And I think that's a future possibilities are endless for them.
And I mean, our goal is to maximize that serendipity, right? So if you had to print out your portfolio, the only people who are going to see it are the people that you've handed it to, right? Our goal is to help you be discovered and to be found. So if somebody's looking for a specific type of illustration or design that this one person has, we want them to be able to find her, and find that person and sort of pull them out of a lot of different folks and hire them and connect with them. That's our goal.
Really cool.
Can I shift the conversation slightly? Because you've done quite a bit of writing about teams and making really highly functioning teams. Can you talk a little bit about that and your top tips on how to make that happen?
I mean, I'm always cognizant of when you sort of write about how to make great teams, your existing team members can sort of be reading those and be thinking,
Hold on a second.
he actually doesn't do all of those things. But I mean, I think designing a team is an interesting challenge. Org design, organizational design, operational design is design, right? It's its own challenge, and it's creative. It has to be iterative. It's a process. I think about it a ton. Our goal as the product teams that I oversee is to build great products for our users. And I ask my team, our sort of true north again is, what's the value that we're adding to our users' lives every day? How are we getting them more exposure? How are we getting them more views? And you do that by building a highly functioning team that's able to ship at the end of the day and to ship new products. So I have a bazillion thoughts about it. Stuff that's sort of just recently top of mind for me is, again, how you sort of divide up your team and how you organize stuff. It's never finished. And there is no perfect. Just like in the same way of product design, or if you're building a product, it's never perfect. It is sort of its current instantiation, and the designers who are building that product are always thinking about what's next and the thing after it. So you have to think the same thing of how you're operating. You have to constantly be optimizing. And so thinking of like, okay, yesterday we did it this way. What worked? What didn't work? Okay, let's take the things that worked and let's keep them. Let's take the things that didn't work, let's change them. And tomorrow, change it again. I like to think about sort of the way you did stuff in the past. That can either be the chains that are holding you back, right? The things that sort of like, well, we've always done it this way. So that could be the chains. Or you could say it's the foundation for how we're going to build our future. And so thinking about being flexible enough, I think, as a team to sort of change up how you operate, how you build, how you work together is really critical. And it's hard, right? If you think about sort of people like to have routine and they like to do things the same way every day. So to come in and say, yesterday we were organized this way, today we're going to be organized this way, that's a huge change.
And tomorrow something different.
And tomorrow something different. But I think if you can really talk to your teams and work with them on knowing that it's not a destination, it's not sort of, we're never going to be done. It's about this constantly evolving and thinking. It changes the frame, and it changes how you think about working.
There's one thing that I read in one of the things you read, which was when it stops working, stop doing it. Which I thought was just so beautiful. And you had another one which was like, never stop talking.
I mean, it's interesting in this world of Slack and everything else, and I'm probably the most guilty on my team of constantly being on Slack. But too often people they don't ask questions, right? They sort of like, well, I'm doing it this way because I thought I was supposed to do this way. Like, well, did you get up and ask the person if this is what we should do? And too often the answer is no. So I really, I encourage teams and myself, probably most importantly, is to get up, FaceTime with somebody, do a video call, just ask questions, understand, okay, where are you coming from? What's going on here? How do we actually solve this problem? And build that communication. And that's true for teams of 2 people to 4 people to 8 people to 16 people. Like, it's incredibly important to keep those lines of communication happening. And how often you have to repeat yourself, I think is especially true for leaders and different managers of teams, and that to make sure information gets disseminated throughout an organization, you've got to really make sure the message is clear and sort of keep giving it throughout the team.
To go into something a bit more topical at the moment, on that note though, like, how do you feel about remote teams and remote working? It's a bit of a buzzword at the moment, but I'm curious how this fits into your thinking.
It is it's a tricky.
That says everything.
It's a tricky subject. It is a.
Whatever he says now, his employees will be like, "Oh, well, you said it."
Exactly. So full caveat. This is my personal opinion about what it is. I think it is. It's got its place, right? So, and a lot of it depends on where you are in the stage of a product and the stage of a journey. There is nothing that I have seen that can beat sort of an in-person sort of deep collaboration, concepting, brainstorming, thinking through meeting. Nothing beats it. And I live on video calls all day and have for years. And nothing beats being there in person for those meetings. When you're trying to solve something new, when you're trying to chart a brand new path, think through really tricky, interesting problems, being in person is the best. And I think that hasn't changed. And I think no matter how good the video technology is, that just hasn't changed yet. Now, once you've sort of established and locked into a plan, you said, okay, here are the designs that we're thinking of. We've got sort of the engineering roadmap. We want to build out this product. Then you get into sort of like the execution phase. And where you do that execution to me is up to you, right? Like, it's amazing how often most of my team is in New York, and everyone's sitting beside each other, and so often you are slacking with a person to your left and to your right.
Yep.
And it's helpful just because there's a record of the conversation. You go back, it's semi-asynchronous, and it's super helpful. So if the person needs to work from home, they need to do something else, I think that's great, and I think it's important. So I think it ebbs and flows, right? And depending on the need of the project. Sometimes you got to be there in person. Sometimes you could be anywhere in the world. You can work async, and it doesn't matter. The key is knowing what those times are. My boss and sort of old colleague, Scott Belsky, told me a long time ago, it's like, never be afraid to jump on a plane. And especially, this is when I was out in New York. We're both out in New York, and we'd first joined Adobe. And he said, when you start to feel like the communication just isn't happening, or just something isn't quite clicking, he's like, jump on a plane.
Yeah.
And every time, like 10 minutes in the room, things get solved. And I think there's real truth to that. So that's my long, convoluted answer, is that it depends. But I think a lot of it is about finding that cadence with your team and knowing when it's important to be there in person and when it's not. And I mean, look, I've had all sorts of wacky ideas about, trying to put rules around it. But the best rule I've found is sort of know your team and know when it's important to be there in person. And you see a lot of fully remote companies still have these big in-person meetups. And so they can sort of all have, a quarterly get-together or a monthly get-together, or people go and co-work in the same location. So it's a super interesting world.
It is, yeah. My prediction is holograms.
I still don't know whether you would get everything from that, though.
You really wouldn't. Yeah, I think I tend to agree. Like, I've been watching and reading a lot about this, and I think it's very hard to beat being in person. There's like this whole level of body language and communication that you miss if you're not there.
Yeah.
And particularly for like fundamental kind of like ideation or just anything that involves like really getting to the depth of a problem.
Yeah.
You need to be with someone there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I've yet to beat it. And again, like I'm based in California. A lot of my team's in New York. We're a global company, so we collaborate with folks all over the world. And still, nothing beats being in person. But then most of the time, again, when you get into sort of like an execution phase, then you can sort of be anywhere, I think. And I think the flexibility that people need to be able to work from different locations is important. And the other thing is, talent is global. People, there are great people all across the world, and how do you find ways to connect and collaborate with them? That's another really important part of that.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of the time, but I just want to bring up, so you've got a double major in philosophy and political science.
Yeah.
And the reason I emphasize that is because creative people can come from anywhere now, which is so amazing. But do you think that double major has really helped you in sort of a management role and kind of understanding, because you look after a big area?
Yeah. I mean, I loved college and I loved what I studied, and like the actual, content that I studied has zero applicability to what I do on a daily basis. But what I say about philosophy is that it taught me to read, and taught me to like really read and understand how to go deep and how to structure my thoughts and how to take a really complex piece of information and dissect it and understand it. So that is invaluable, and I think it also made me sort of fearless in trying to learn new things. You open up, a book on German philosophy, and that is about as intimidating as a book as you'll ever open up. Yeah. And if you can sort of learn to overcome that and say, like, I can figure this out.
Was it in German?
That would be
even more
so.
intimidating.
It certainly felt like it, even though it was translated. But I think there's something to that, just being sort of fearless about learning. And that's I think, really stuck with me, of being that I can figure this out if I just give it time and put the effort towards it. So that's the key thing. And so I wouldn't change a thing in terms of what I studied. I think it's really valuable. And, I think some of the best engineers in my team, they studied psychology, they didn't study engineering, right? So they picked it up, it was their passion on the side. Certainly a lot of them sort of studied engineering, and that's been what they've been doing. But I think creativity, sort of design, these things come from everywhere, right? It's about the passion, the drive, and honestly, the willingness to put in the time to learn those things.
I think seeing those people who've come from that background or something that's not a creative background, they tend to have that hunger that's just a little bit like, I desperately want to do this because I've got to that point in my life where I've realized that's kind of my calling, and I want to put all my effort and everything I have into it. And I think like those are some of those people that you just are like once in a lifetime people to work with, and I love seeing them. Yeah, it's really
exactly.
cool.
And I think being fearless and being willing to take risk is a big part of it. And I mean, I tell my team is like, look, we're in the business of placing bets, and the bets are about where we spend our time, what features we build.
Yep.
And when you place a bet, they're not always going to pay off. In fact, they're probably mostly not going to pay off. And you have to be okay with that. And it's the same thing you think about a career and learning new things, is that you're going to be really bad at it for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's part of the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's sort of embracing that and understanding that it's striving to get better is how you get better. And that's I think, the fun part of the journey.
Yes.
Cool. Amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you to you as well. Stick around. We're going to have a bit of a recap of the day and talk about some of the things that we really enjoyed seeing, and give you a bit of a preview of tomorrow.